It pains me to say this, but I don't think the average Jew has any more accurate a view of Christianity than the average Christian has of Judaism.
I remember my mother being quite upset once when she saw a bumper sticker that said Jesus was Jewish. And she didn't know why, but it just rubbed her wrong. She said Jesus was Christian. I said, well, no, actually he was Jewish, Mom.
One of the things that is really powerful for me about my encounter with Jews is that the kinds of questions that Jews pose to me, whether they do so directly or whether it's a kind of an indirect result of a conversation, is a necessity to understand and articulate my own tradition.
I'm of the conviction that the reason we as Christians must go back and appreciate our Jewish roots is so we can go forward into a more authentic kind of Christianity.
If you look at Black Christian preaching, for example, the themes that one often hears in the titles of the sermons as well as in the exposition itself will be themes drawn from the Jewish scriptures, will be the themes of slavery and oppression and emancipation and freedom.
We have a beginning in common in the faith of Abraham. We have our end in common in what we expect at the end of time, and that history has a meaning and is coming to a judgment, and that there is the sense of redemption for humanity.
Christianity was easier to understand and respond to when it was a tradition that taught contempt. Now that it is attempting to redefine its relationship to Judaism in positive terms, the great apprehension of many Jews is that we will embrace Judaism and we will marry the Jewish community out of existence. We will love them to death.
What I want to find in the other is the differences as well as the similarities.
70% of what one tradition says about the other is a breach of the commandment, thou shalt not bear false witness against your neighbor.
What is most difficult for a Jewish person involved in the interfaith dialogue is to accept the concept of Jesus as the Messiah.
Jesus Christ, as Christians understand who Jesus Christ is a problem still for Jews. And I would say it's a problem and it's going to remain a problem.
And there is this Jewish joke, about how does one know Jesus was Jewish? Well, the answer is, at the age of 33, he was still living with his parents, that he went into his father's business, and his mother thought he was God. Well, it's humorous, but at a deeper level, it captures much of the truth of this common values, including family and continuity and ambitions for children, and a lot of other qualities, both formal and informal, that Jews and Christians share together.
Abraham, founder of monotheism, the first Jew. The two most closely related Abrahamic religions, Judaism and Christianity, claim Abraham as their father. Though Jews and Christians share a biblical legacy, their journey for the past 2,000 years has been rich yet troubled. In the journey to their collective past in the land of Israel, Jews and Christians from around the world uncover a history that resonates with how their lives are lived today. For the Jews, the land is part of their peoplehood. For the Christians, the land is where Jesus lived and died.
You know, it's very important. It's a big mitzvah, what we say, to plant trees in the land of Israel. It says in the Torah, when you come into the land, you have to put a tree roots in the ground for fruit, for the future. And it's the first thing you've got to do before you do anything else.
He was a man who didn't have to die on the cross, but he did anyway. Not because of his human strength, but because of his divine strength. And in that process, we see his total humility to allow himself to be subjected not just to the physical torture which took place on the cross, which is important, but more importantly, to the subjugation, so to speak, of his divinity for a season.
Rosa Ehrenkrantz, 10 years old, Poland.
Max Steitelbaum, 12 years old, Belgium.
Binek Ehrenkrantz, 5 years old, Poland.
We paid a heavy price, a very heavy price. 6 million people, 1.5 million children. And we should remember that. But you also remember that I told you when we came into the site. We're talking today about the destruction, but also about the revival and the return.
Ironically, wherever they live, Jews and Christians are often unaware of how deeply their traditions are intertwined.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. This ancient declaration of faith by the Jewish people expresses a core belief of Judaism and Christianity, monotheism.